Hi, and welcome back to Being a Woman, for the woman who knows she's made for more. On today's episode, I've got Sanel with me, a life coach, who's going to teach us all about tools and tricks on how becoming a better woman to help you through healing and becoming the best version of yourself. Please make sure to subscribe. There's a lot of interesting things happening on this platform, and I'm very excited to have you with us. Hi, Sanel.
Hello.
And welcome here with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
So Sanel, I want you to tell us a bit more about yourself.
Okay, so firstly, I'm a mom of two amazing boys. My oldest son is almost 26 and I have a 19-year-old son. And I'm, of course, married to their dad. It was our 20th anniversary just a month ago, so that was wonderful. I've been a life coach now for 16 years.
So tell me, what inspired you to become a life coach then?
I worked as a regional trainer for a large restaurant group. During the time that I was working there, they rolled out a coaching process in some of the stores to see if it makes a change in how the staff do their work and their commitment and engagement level. And as trainers, we were very much involved in this process. But I decided I'm going to start applying it in my training sessions already. And I saw this powerful impact that coaching has on the staff in the stores and how they started believing in themselves and doing their work with more passion. I knew then this is what I want to do. So for a few years, there was no money to study because in those years in South Africa, it was completely unknown. So there was no training available in South Africa. So whatever I did, I had to do online via an international organization. And eventually, when I found a course that really grabbed my heart and my attention, we had the money as well. So I could study life coaching. I got up at 3 o'clock in the mornings to attend classes, but I loved it. It really excited me. So that's how I got into coaching. It was important for me to find the right course. I mean, there was a lot of courses, but I wanted something that resonated with me and my belief system.
So I want to ask you, if me, as a modern day woman who's overworked, I feel like my relationships are not working. Life at work is not working for me. Motherhood feels overwhelming to me. How would you help me in those situations?
Most of my clients that come to me are in that situation where they feel overwhelmed or they feel stuck or they just feel they play too many roles and they don't know what's next. So we will begin by dissecting what is going on in your life at this very moment. Where are you now? What do you feel happy about? What are you positive about? What drags you down? What makes you negative? And then what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? What do you wish would happen in your life? That usually leads into a big discussion, and from that, I learn a lot about my client and maybe where the process needs to start. And from that, I will make recommendations. Let's do so many coaching lessons. Let's bring in this tool. Let's do this, and take a couple of days to think about it, but here's my suggestion on how we move forward with you. And for each woman, it's differently. It's different. What works for you might not work for the next person.
And I feel like you have to read the person,
Yes.
to understand them and then work from there and adjust from there and help them with their unique specific issues.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
What do you think so many women struggle with self-worth, and what can they do to shift it into more believing in themselves and having more confidence at the end of the day?
I was brought up, for example, to be quiet in my little corner and not to speak out. And you're a woman, your place is in the kitchen. So for me, self-love is very important, firstly with yourself. And when you have that relationship with yourself where you stop criticizing who you are, what you bring, what you offer, how you behaved in a certain situation, or especially in motherhood, we make mistakes. We don't have the manual. Nobody's written the manual yet. Um, we can be so hateful towards ourselves. But if you can embrace who you are and how you were made to be and your uniqueness, then you can start loving yourself better and love those around you more with more passion because you believe in who you are.
I do feel that. And when you spoke now about motherhood, being a mother, oh, we all make mistakes. And I know even me, like, I'm trying to be a very conscious parent when it comes to my child and being very mindful of him and his emotions. So I really do try that. But in the past, I have been in survival mode very badly. So I feel while I was stuck in that, I wasn't the best mother I could be.
Yeah.
I also didn't love myself very much. So obviously I couldn't give him the love and compassion I wasn't giving myself. One thing I've also like tried to do more is I started telling my son I'm sorry. I'm sorry I did this.
Yes.
Because in forgiving yourself, you need them to also forgive you for that. And I feel like in those moments when they can forgive you, even though like they will always love you, but maybe that little scar we are afraid of that will cause them lifelong issues might be stuck within them. But if you say sorry and can forgive you in that moment, they can release that.
Yes.
What role does boundary setting play in a woman's journey of empowerment?
So in my coaching process, that's usually one of the very first things I can establish is whether my client or potential client has actually got healthy boundaries or any boundaries at all.
What does boundaries look like? Because I knew when I started my journey of, okay, I need to set boundaries. I didn't even know what a boundary is. So how how can you say it for the woman beginning in that journey of what is boundaries actually, and how do I start setting boundaries to empower myself?
So let's say, for instance, you have a friend who never calls you, hardly ever answer your messages. I'm using a very simple example. Um, but it makes you feel bad. I'm sure you've been in a situation like that. It happens so often these days that you have a friend that does that to you and you start questioning yourself. Have I said something wrong? Have I done something wrong? What's going on here? That's if I had to put in a boundary there, just to give you an example, is I will speak to that friend of mine in a kind and gentle way and say how it makes me feel. But I will put that boundary in place that I will stop being the one reaching out all the time. If there's no response, I will say something about it. And if it continues, I will put the boundary down with, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. They say what you tolerate will continue. I'm not saying be unforgiving or don't have them in your life, but for your own self-worth, uh, you need to maybe cut some ties. Or I always say people are in circles in our lives. Um, Maybe they need to move into a different circle.
I do also feel like boundary setting plays a huge role in toxic relationships.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And if a woman doesn't know how to set boundaries, as an empowered woman, she will end up in toxic relationships. Yeah. Can you give us some advice on that and how a woman maybe can, through boundary setting, avoid toxic relationships at the end of the day?
Young women really, really need to understand how important it is to make sure that your values align with a possible partner's values, because that's usually where these major differences and things come into play. I recently had somebody who um, she's currently going through a divorce. They've been married for about 7 years. Before they got married, they were together about 2, 3 years. And there was a lot of things that is now part of the reason why she's divorcing him that was present from the very beginning. But those boundaries were never put in place. She always tolerated it. And like I said, what you tolerate will continue and or even get worse. To have that awareness from the very beginning in a relationship that if there's a red flag or something nagging a little bit, talk about it, breathe it out in the open. Let's say, for instance, you are constantly being disrespected or you are being removed from your family, or your family is always wrong or whatever. I would say something like that can cause major havoc in a long-term relationship, because at the end, if it's that kind of person that want to remove you from your family and isolate you, those things usually just escalate over time. It doesn't get better, it doesn't go away, it escalates over time.
Women need to stop ignoring that flicker of something doesn't feel right. But so many women want to, oh, but I can fix this. You can't fix anything.
Nah.
No, you're not meant to fix somebody. I feel like the most loving thing you can do for someone is to give them space to fix themselves.
And that once again brings us full circle. Do you value yourself? Because if you value yourself as a woman, you're not going to tolerate disrespect and somebody else devaluing you. At work, they might, devalue you and, uh, uh, you know, not appreciate what you bring to the table. And even there, you can put up some boundaries and draw a line and say, this is stealing my self-worth and value.
Oh, this is actually my perspective on it. But I would like to hear your thoughts on it. Like, especially a woman, I would say settling for a relationship she knows she deserves better. Do you think it ties down a lot to the fear of being alone? I feel like you compromise a little if you fear of ending up alone. So you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna take this person. My time is running out. Society expects me to get married, to have children, have all these things. And if I don't settle now for this person, even if he doesn't treat me the best he can,
Maybe it's my last chance.
yes.
Yeah.
I feel like that is a very big mindset some women are stuck in, of I need to settle or else I'm gonna end up alone.
Yeah.
At the end of
Yeah.
the day.
That's definitely a factor in the situation. And I don't think it's always a conscious for some women. They're very conscious that they are looking for a man because they don't want to end up alone and they want to get married and they want to have a child and they want to have that life. So they're willing to settle for anything. But I think for others, it's very more subtle and very more in a subconscious way that they're saying, or the subconscious is believing that I have to be in this relationship because I'm not worth something more, or not believing there's something better out there. Our society needs a lot of healing.
It
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
I do feel like there's a lot of pressure from society in how you should be, and especially with relationships.
One of the reasons why I love coaching so much is if the light goes on for this person and this woman and she sees herself in a different way, and she can go and light that same fire in the women in her inner circle, and they go and do it in their circles. It's not just those women, it's their children. So it's if we can just start with one. We can't do it for everybody, but if we can start with one, just setting that light on fire inside of them, it's a whole family or a whole generation that we can change.
That's why I started this podcast, is because I really want to help the women listening or watching or whatever to know that you are so worthy and you are capable. Are there any daily practices you can give advice on what a woman can use to help them through daily struggles?
A habit that I have created for myself is daily affirmations. So I have written my own personal affirmations.
Could you give us some?
Some I am full of positive energy, so I attract positivity towards me, and my energy attracts other people towards me.
That it's more like I am worthy.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm worthy, I am valuable.
are there more habits or practices you can recommend?
Spend time doing things that you really love, that bring you joy. Whether it's that it's taking a stroll on the beach or in the bush, or whether it's having a cup of coffee with your friend, or maybe it's coloring in or painting, but you have to make time as a woman to invest in yourself.
Or before we end this off, I would like to ask you my question. What does it mean for you personally to be a woman?
Embrace who I am, the way I dress, the way I take care of myself. Do it as part of my self-love ritual, to embrace that I am a woman. I don't have to be a man to survive out there. I've got my own place under the sun, and to be true to myself, I embrace my femininity.
Thank you for joining us today and being with us.
It's a pleasure.
It has been a pleasure being with you and just talking to you. And I'm sure whatever you put out today is going to help so many women just to become more feminine, like you said, and just stick into their best self.
Yeah.
So I just want to thank you for that. And thank you to you. Thank you for joining us today. And I hope to see you next time. Please make sure to subscribe. Bye.